I was saying, y'all, it's your boy Rico from RicoScores, and I'm coming with a big-time Washington Commanders quarterback update, most notably centered around Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye for a lot of these topics, and it's a lot of very different topics going around. Of course, we got to address the fact that LSU head coach Brian Kelly literally potentially leaked the Washington Commanders draft plan at number 2 overall. Also, we're going to talk about a lot of different media opinions on Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye and how widespread they are. I mean, some people are saying that Drake Maye is Andrew Luck. Some people feel like Drake Maye is QB4 in this draft. We're going to talk about all of those different opinions and how far away they are from each other. Also, I have some fan survey results from the Washington Commanders fan base. I have 2 survey results. We're going to take a look at who people in the Commanders fan base prefer to draft with number 2 overall pick. And then also Jayden Daniels fights back against his weird elbow rumors from that picture. And then I also have a lot of really notable quotes from the quarterbacks themselves and about the quarterbacks as well that we're going to dive into. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned because I'm coming with constant updates on everything. Again, I promise I'm working on that cap space update. That will probably literally be my next video, so stay tuned for that. We're about to start getting to work on some film sessions for a lot of these college prospects, a lot of things, man. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, and the TikTok account because we are not playing on those platforms as well. So make sure y'all support that. And let's go ahead and get into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, did LSU head coach Brian Kelly and media analyst Benjamin Albright leak the Commanders' draft plans for the number 2 overall? Is it pretty much destined for us to end up taking Jayden Daniels with that second pick right now? Because, of course, the first one that set the internet into a frenzy a couple of days ago was when LSU head coach Brian Kelly was talking about Jayden Daniels, and he literally said that he's going to make plays for Washington. And that was just crazy. I mean, the exact quote was, he's going to be committed to taking care of himself. You're not going to have to worry about size or whether he weighs enough. Lamar Jackson's done a good job with his size. Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't consider him a giant. He'll get the ball out to the playmakers and make plays for Washington. That was crazy. The whole internet was just all over the place from that one. And then you have Benjamin Albright, who again is like a national media analyst that covers the draft, covers football and all that type of stuff. And he did like a simple tweet saying most everybody I talked to has 4 tiers for this draft. Day 1, Caleb Williams number 1, then tier 2 is Jayden Daniels, Drake Maye, JJ McCarthy, and then day 2, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Spencer Rattler, then day 3, anyone else. Basically, he said names are only listed alphabetically. Then you have a Commanders fan who had Drake Maye as his profile picture, at least for the time being, I believe. And then he said the point that Drake Maye is closer to Caleb than Jayden and JJ McCarthy are. Benjamin Albright replied, certainly your opinion. I don't know that that is necessarily shared by the majority. And then the Commanders fan comes right back at him, and they're going back and forth. And by the end of it, Benjamin Albright said that I think you're going to be disappointed on pick 2. Basically saying that, I mean, he didn't say directly that the Commanders are taking Jayden Daniels specifically, but he made it sound like the Commanders are not thinking about taking Drake Maye from what he's hearing. I don't know if he meant to say that. I believe this tweet even got deleted soon afterwards. I'm not sure though, but I don't know. I thought that was very interesting that, remember the Brian Kelly thing happened March 28th. This Benjamin Albright thing happened the day before that on March 27th. And it just came up from a simple back and forth. And basically, I mean, they had several replies to each other like 10 times each, it looks like, at least. And then he just pretty much ended it well with, I think you're going to be disappointed on pick 2. And again, the Commanders fan at the time had Drake Maye as his profile picture. So That should pretty much tell you everything you need to know right there. If that's true, though, Benjamin Albright could just be lashing out. You absolutely have no idea if he knows what the Commanders are doing at all. Because, again, I'm not even sure if the Commanders know what they're doing. But, I mean, all of this happening at the same time within a 24-hour span was like, wait a minute. Are the Commanders really for real? They already are set on the fact that they're taking Jayden Daniels? That's crazy. But let's go back. First of all, Benjamin Albright tweet, who knows what he knows. Again, maybe the Adam Peters and company don't even know who we're taking, and he's not even like a guy that's close to the Commanders, so he could just be saying that to lash out like I already just said. But then even going back to the Brian Kelly thing, just to go ahead and temper those rumors down a little bit, let's settle down, because he was specifically asked about Washington by Chick Hernandez for that question. That's why he said for Washington. It's not like he was just asked about Jayden Daniels in general and then just slipped up and said for Washington. He was specifically asked what he can basically do for Washington and how good could he be if the Washington Commanders end up taking him. That's why Brian Kelly said for Washington. So we do need to calm those rumors down just a little bit. But just imagine how diddly that could be with Jayden Daniels being the best deep ball thrower in the class and the best slot fade thrower in the class specifically as well, with Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson as his receivers. Look at this chart right here, man. Look how elite they are at the deep ball, and to get the best deep ball thrower in this class, man, that's unfair. Boy, we would be lighting defenses up. And then with Jayden Daniels' legs as well, oh my lord, that wouldn't even be fair. I know Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson would be very happy about that. Now moving on, sticking with Jayden Daniels, do the Commanders beat reporters know something that we don't? Because at Burgundy Blog hit up JP Finley with a reply and said, do I understand correctly that you and Mitch Tisler went from a slight May hunch post-combine to an 80 to 85% Daniels now? What accounts for that? And Mitch Tisler replied, eventually, it was like a couple of replies in between, but he ended it with, certainly there was some May vibes in Indy, but to me, you got to separate the forest from the trees. And to steal a phrase, it's interesting what others around the league and media will say. It's important to pay attention to what's being said and done by the actual team and not what you're hearing and seeing from everybody else outside of the actual team and things like that. So Mitch Tisler, I don't know. So I guess from people covering the Commanders closely, they don't have direct information from Adam Peters himself, of course, but based off of what they're hearing and noticing from the Commander side of things, not what Albert Breer saying, not what Tom Pelissero saying, or Adam Schefter, or any of those guys, based off of monitoring what the Commanders are doing, they feel like Jayden Daniels is 80 to 85% likely right now. And again, this is coming from the same people that felt like they were more so leaning towards Drake Maye during and slightly after the combine. I wonder what changed from then to now. I don't know what happened behind the scenes that we missed as fans that made them change their guesses so dramatically, but apparently, reading through the tea leaves, Mitch Tisler and JP Finley feels like it's definitely very likely that we're going to end up drafting Jayden Daniels number 2 overall, but we got to see. Now, let's move on to the varying opinions on the top quarterbacks, because it's all over the place. First of all, Clyde Christensen on the Pat McAfee show said that about Drake Maye, he is very similar to Andrew Luck. If anybody doesn't draft him, they're going to regret it. Unquote. That is crazy. That is high praise. To say that basically he's to the level of like an Andrew Luck is crazy, because a lot of people feel like Andrew Luck is the best quarterback prospect coming out of college in like the past 20, 30 years. And then Mel Kiper came out with this big board yesterday, March 29th, and he has Caleb Williams as his number 1 player in the entire draft. Guess who he has as number 2? Jayden Daniels. Not just the second best quarterback, but the second best player. Marvin Harrison 3rd, Malik Neighbors 4th, Rome Odunze 5th, my dog, Brock Bowers 6th, and then Drake Maye 7th. And I don't think that he necessarily feels like there's just this big gap between Drake Maye and then Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams at the top. But he was willing to put in other position group top elite players in between Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye to pretty much at least provide that separation there. Then you have Louis Riddick of ESPN, while at Drake Maye's pro day doing a report from there live for ESPN, he said that he still has Jayden Daniels as his QB1, then Caleb Williams as QB2, and then Drake Maye as his QB3. He has Jayden Daniels as literally his favorite quarterback in the entire draft. Then Dan Graziano on ESPN reported that the Vikings and Raiders are both desperate to move into the top 3, but only for the right guy, who he clearly believes is Jayden Daniels, not Drake Maye. So basically the Vikings and Raiders are only willing to trade up to the 3rd overall pick if we take Drake Maye, because they prefer Jayden Daniels. And if we take Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye is available 3rd, then the Vikings and Raiders, I guess, are cool with waiting to maybe get JJ McCarthy, is what it sounded like, but they're not willing to trade up to the 3rd pick to take Drake Maye if that's who's available there. According to Dan Graziano, we don't know what the Raiders and all of those guys, the Vikings, are actually thinking for real, but it's just amazing that the reports that we're getting right now, some people feel like Drake Maye is Andrew Luck. Some people feel like he's not even worth taking with the 3rd overall pick. This is crazy. Then there's a report from NFL draft scout, aka Matt Miller, that multiple teams have JJ McCarthy ranked ahead of Drake Maye on their draft boards. He said, quote, "A high-ranking evaluator I spoke to this week said McCarthy's winning resume, upside as a mobile quarterback, and impeccable poise under pressure all graded out higher for them than Maye." That's crazy in itself. So now we're talking about Drake Maye QB4? We have people that feel like Drake Maye is the best quarterback to come out of the draft since Andrew Luck. And then you have some people that have him as quarterback 4. What is going on right now? This draft process is insane. I don't remember the last time that opinions were this far. We've had disagreements like, yeah, this quarterback is QB1. Yeah, but another person will think that same as that quarterback is QB3 or QB4 of this class. I don't remember a time that we've had a quarterback likened to the point of like an Andrew Luck, like that level of hype, and then another guy feeling like that same quarterback is potentially only QB4 in this class. This is insane. When you ask Joe Klatt, he had Caleb Williams as his #1 prospect of the last decade as far as quarterbacks go, Trevor Lawrence 2nd, Joe Burrow 3rd, Drake Maye 4th, and Bryce Young 5th. If you were to ask Joe Klatt, Drake Maye high up there. Then of the last 20 years, NFL notifications at NFL Notified ranked it as Andrew Luck 1, Caleb Williams 2, Trevor Lawrence 3, Eli Manning 4, Cam Newton, my dog, you know what I'm saying, Westlake's on number 5, Joe Burrow 6, Matt Stafford, Georgia Bulldog 7, Baker Mayfield 8, Kyler Murray 9, and then Drake Maye 10 as one of the 10 best college prospects in the last 20 years, man. And just notice that Jayden Daniels wasn't included in any of those last 2 lists that I gave you when talking about the best quarterbacks of the last 10 years, the best quarterbacks of the last 20. But yet Drake Maye is all over those lists. But then in this current draft setting, a lot of people feel like Jayden Daniels is the better quarterback than Drake Maye. I don't know what's going on and how any of that makes sense. Also, shouts out to @DrakeFantasy because he provides the ages of all of the quarterbacks when the 2024 NFL season starts. All of the younger guys. Bo Nix is 24, Michael Penix Jr. 24, Jayden Daniels 23, Caleb Williams 22, and Drake Maye 22. But at the same time, Anthony Richardson 22, CJ Stroud 22, Bryce Young 23, Trevor Lawrence 24, younger than you think, and Justin Fields 25. That's actually really crazy when you put it into perspective like that. Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. are the same age as Trevor Lawrence. That is wild. And Jayden Daniels is the same age as Bryce Young, older than CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. That is crazy when you really look at it like that. And now let's talk about some notable quotes from the top draft quarterbacks. We're just going to talk about Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye. First of all, Jayden Daniels felt the need to go on the internet yesterday at 11:46 a.m. to finally dispute the whole elbow chaos that's going on with the weird elbow that I believe it was Adam Schefter that tweeted the picture, and his elbow looked bionic. It looked alien-like. Again, I'm assuming, like I said in my video when I reported on it, that it looked like a glitch. And he literally came out and tweeted himself, "My elbow is perfectly fine. Stop the cap." I mean, there was so much chaos behind it. Even like a real doctor came out and said, yeah, I mean, he could have this condition. It's nothing to worry about, but it could be a certain condition that maybe if he wants to get it drained or whatever. It was just it got completely out of control. It got to the point that even Jayden Daniels had to tweet about it. And then also, speaking of Jayden Daniels, he said that he doesn't feel pressured to have to potentially fill in the shoes of Tom Brady at New England. And first of all, why should he? There's been several quarterbacks there since then. It's not like those Patriots fans have the same expectations as they immediately had going from Tom Brady to like a Jimmy Garoppolo, like immediately after Tom Brady left. I feel like, first of all, expectations have died down. And then secondly, I mean, I like the confidence. Like, I don't feel like you should have to be pressured in any way. Like, go out there and win. How about that? I mean, maybe I'm just a certain personality where I never feel pressure. If anything, I'm the type of person that gets better when like we need that last bucket, or like in a video game, we need that last kill in a shooter game or whatever. Like, I'm just that type of person that literally just does better in those moments. Or even like Tekken, everybody's like one hit away. That's literally when I do my best. So I don't know. I just never understood the whole pressure thing, me personally, but I respect the fact that he completely loves it. He lives for it. He's down. Ian Cummings, who's even a bigger Drake fan than a Jayden Daniels fan, said, awesome quote from Jayden Daniels. I think it resonates even more when you think about what he had the rebound from coming from Arizona State. You can feel the confidence when you watch his tape too, sometimes to a fault. But he does have the talents to be a difference maker. And again, that's coming from a guy that is a bigger Drake Maye fan than a Jayden Daniels fan, which is why I keep saying, no matter who you prefer, both of these guys are elite, and we should be happy with either one that we end up getting. And that further proves my point right there, that even a Drake Maye fan, a guy that's very high on Drake Maye, also feels like Jayden Daniels is a playmaker and a game changer. And of course, we can debate about which NFL prospect is better as like a projection to the NFL level, but there's no argument to be had about who was the more clutch player in 2023. Really, who was the best player overall, even if you're just looking at stats, whatever, but also the most clutch player as well. Because when a team needed a 3rd and long converted into a 1st down, when a team needed a game-winning touchdown drive, Jayden Daniels was easily the most clutch and confident out of all of the quarterbacks. But of course, there's weight concerns, which takes me to my next quote. Brian Kelly, the head coach of LSU, Jayden Daniels, the one that everybody thought he potentially leaked the fact that the Commanders were taking Jayden Daniels number 2 overall. He said the thing that he's been asked the most about when it comes to Jayden Daniels from NFL scouts are weight concerns and self-preservation and all of that type of stuff. And which is really funny because, first of all, I would assume so. I definitely would have guessed that as well. But also, Jayden Daniels addressed that like a few days ago and said that like at his pro day, after his pro day, that the question that he's asked the most about from NFL scouts directly to him are his weight concerns and self-preservation. So a lot of people, when we're talking about self-preservation, that means even if you are pretty skinny, you're lower on weight than people expect, how do you plan on at least finding a way to make up for that by avoiding hits and things like that? So those are the questions that Jayden Daniels and Brian Kelly have gotten the most so far this offseason from NFL scouts. And we couldn't leave without Drake Maye having to say anything. And I thought it was really interesting because he was asked, I think this was after his pro day or whatever, but he was asked about the Commanders specifically. He was asked about the Patriots first, and he gave them a couple of compliments. But when he was asked about the Commanders, he said, great dudes, great people. They got a great thing going up there, unquote. And now, I don't know if Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye necessarily prefer the Commanders because of the Commanders themselves, or if they're doing everything that they possibly can to sell themselves to be the second quarterback taken in the draft rather than get taken later. I don't know if they necessarily just prefer to go higher in the draft, or they actually really love what the Commanders got going on. But every time you look at, especially Drake May's definitely more passionate than a Jayden Daniels is. Jayden Daniels is very nonchalant. His words are very bright. If you just read them off of a paper, you know, you would think that he was higher on the Commanders, but when you like actually watch him and listen to him, he's very nonchalant, very chill about it. But Drake Maye seems definitely more upbeat and more excited about potentially joining the Commanders. But it seems like both guys are selling themselves to the Commanders. And again, I pose the question, is this a trying to get drafted as high as possible, trying to get drafted before the other guy that you're being compared to all of the time? Or do you actually legitimately really want to go to the Commanders? Like, say, for example, if we had the 3rd overall pick, would Jayden Daniels and Drake Maye still be selling themselves to the Commanders as much as they are right now? And before we get up out of here, we have a couple of fan surveys about what they prefer to do with the 2nd overall pick. Grant Paulson's got 5,232 votes. And Jayden Daniels received 39.3% of the votes. Drake Maye received 42.9% of the votes. JJ McCarthy got 5.1%. That's more than I expected. And then Trey Back got 12.6%, which is also more than I expected. Really interesting. But Drake Maye won that in a 5,000 vote survey, and it's pretty close, but 3% is still of a lot of 5,232 people. That's still like over 100 people difference, but that's still pretty close though as well. And then Team 980 at Team 980, the people that do all of the radio stuff for the Commanders and things like that, they did a survey that only got 637 votes though, but Jayden Daniels won with 48.4%, Drake Maye 38%, McCarthy 5.3%, and trade back 8.3%. So it completely flips right there. Now granted, these are way less votes, but Jayden Daniels has the largest percentage out of any of the surveys, out of any of the players that we have between these two surveys. His 48.4% is even more than Drake Maye's 42.9% in the previous survey. But of course, if we had to like tally up all the votes, Drake Maye has the most votes between both surveys combined. But again, McCarthy and trade back have far more votes than I expected going into this, because I'm completely team Jayden Daniels 1, Drake Maye 2, probably trade back 3, and then I guess JJ McCarthy, but I'm assuming you trade back and then take JJ McCarthy. That's what I'm assuming, depends on how far you trade back or whatever. But yeah, that is really interesting right there with those surveys. It seems like ultimately we're almost like dead even in the Commanders fan base. It's pretty much a civil war, Drake Maye or Jayden Daniels. Of course, I'm kind of on the Jayden Daniels side, but again, I'm happy with either one. I'm completely happy with either one. But if I had to choose a side, I'm on the Jayden Daniels side. I would vote for Jayden Daniels in these surveys, but that's not to say that if we end up with Drake Maye, I'm not extremely excited either way. Again, like I've said in several videos before, to me, it's way less about who we draft and more so about how, after we get the guy that we draft, how we actually build the right offense around them, as far as O-line, weapons, scheme, play calling, all of that type of stuff. What do we do to help bring out their strengths and hide their weaknesses? Or even if you don't hide their weaknesses, how about we develop and improve on those weaknesses? But the ones that you can't, for some reason, they just can't figure that part out to their game, then how do we, whatever we do to like mask and hide those weaknesses as well. So, hey man, I just feel like it's more so not even who we take, but after we take the guy, what do we do with them after that more than anything else? Because I feel like these two quarterbacks are both elite. I feel like if Jayden Daniels didn't exist, if Caleb Williams didn't exist, Drake Maye, everybody would be fighting trying to get him. Some people would probably even be talking about trading up to get him. And I feel like if Drake Maye didn't exist, same thing with Jayden Daniels. If Caleb Williams and Drake Maye didn't exist, people would be trying to do whatever it took to trade up to get Jayden Daniels #1 over right now. I'm pretty sure of it. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Of course, a lot of these are just rumors. Of course, just rumors. Don't take any of this too seriously. We still have less than a month away though before the draft. I'm super excited, and so man, make sure y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna keep y'all updated on everything going on with the Commanders, whether we sign somebody, if it's draft, if it's free agency, whatever. Stay tuned. I'm coming with the updated cap space video, and of course, don't leave this video without leaving a like. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.